For watching, and thank you for being part of our foundation. This is your foundation. My wife and I just happen to be the founders, but this is really for you. And we're going to be talking about creating family prosperity. This is a book that is part that was from Stephen and Betty Gibson, which are wonderful people. They're making a huge difference with people all around the world. And it's really designed to help you get that small business up and running. You know, sometimes finding a job is kind of a challenge. You don't make the kind of money that you need to make. All of you need a small business anyway. You need the job if you could get it. And in addition to that, you need a small business on top of that. So I've got my good friend Kurt Mortensen here. He's going to be taking us away, and we're going to be talking about creating family prosperity. Take it away, Kurt.
All right. Welcome. Everybody, did we put that into chat there? Make sure we have that. So everybody should have this workbook. Chapter 1, we're going through it. It's a workbook. We're going to do some work today. So pull it up on your screen, have it downloaded. We'll put it there, link there into chat for this first chapter of this book, Creating Family Prosperity. Now, this is kind of the physical and spiritual journey from poverty to wealth. Doesn't matter where you're starting. You need to learn these principles. Number 1, for yourself. Number 2, to teach your children. And number 3, to teach other people. So we're going to wear a couple different hats today. I want you to learn to be a coach, to coach others from poverty to prosperity, teach your children, and teach yourself. And I guarantee everything we talked about today, you have not arrived. These are things we always are working on. So make sure you can pull it up. That this workbook, we're doing chapter 1, and I want you to do some work. I'm going to ask you some questions, even if you're taking notes. If you're driving, okay, mentally take notes. I get it. I understand it, but this is something that'll make a huge difference. These are proven principles that'll make a huge difference with what you do. And I want you to be open here. And we have, as humans, tend to have this self-perception bias that we tend to think we're doing better than we actually are many times. That's why in the business world, 92% of managers rate their managerial skills as above average. That's not true. 90% of people rate their people skills as above average. Not true. Even 18-year-olds rate their driving skills as above average here in the United States. So be open. Some of these things maybe you've mastered. Some of these things you need to work on. So we're doing a workbook. We're working through this. So we're on lesson 1. We did an overview last week, but now we're taking a deeper dive to make sure you have these skills and you can coach on these skills. This is a physical and kind of a spiritual journey, especially for countries that don't have as many opportunities as other countries. Some of you live in countries where maybe it's not as, as abundant as other countries. That's okay. We can see opportunities. We can work through this. We can understand exactly how it works. So a quick overview here. Hopefully you've pulled this up right there at the top of the page. Let's talk about some of these. Take this deep dive. Can be open. Nobody's judging you. Nobody's around. Well, maybe there are, but this is something to really I need to work on this. And so as we go through this, so you have to say to yourself, yes, put a Y for yes, an N for no. And I'm going to add one that's not in the book is maybe there's an M for maybe, right? Maybe. Maybe it's an issue for you. Maybe it's something to work on. So we're going to work through that. So put a Y for yes, no for maybe, or an N for no, an M for maybe as we work through these different pieces. All right. So here are the main questions here. We're going to talk about these questions here on the top of page 1, lesson 1. Why do some people suffer in poverty while others enjoy prosperity? Well, we're not going to sit here and point fingers. Well, that's not fair. It's just out there. It's reality. We don't have time to deal with fair. We're just going to deal with reality. Some people are prosperous, some people not. Some have more opportunities than others. But there are opportunities out there that we can identify. Tom Painter always talks about that side hustle, looking for opportunities, solving problems. But let's talk about why this happens. So the first question, does it matter if my family is rich or poor? Yeah, it matters. You have to take care of your family, feed your family, take a look at your posterity. There's something about that. And we pursue wealth for three reasons. It helps you and your family, right? Number one. Number two, you become a better person. You learn better skills. And number three, to serve, to help out, to change the world is why we do this. So that's the first question you ask. Does it matter to you? Yes? No? You're not sure right now? Does it matter to you to take care of your family if they're rich or poor? Are they stuck in poverty? Or are they going to be in the prosperity mode? Second one, what has caused my family to be poor? Now, we don't want to finger point. We just want to take a look at reality. What's happened? Is it something from your past? Is it a belief that you have? This is the key. So to change, when we identify this, to change these issues, we have to change ourselves. My early mentor, Jim Rohn, said it very simple. I was telling him about my goals and my dreams, and I was blaming people along the way. And he said, he cut me off mid-sentence. He says, Kurt, for things to change, you must change. And for things to get better, you must get better. And let me add a word to that. For your income to change, you must change. And for your income to get better, you must get better. And that's why you're here. Pat yourself on the back. You're getting better. You're learning the skills. Quit finger pointing, because when you blame society, you blame your parents, you blame the government, you blame your country, when you point fingers and blame, you never fix yourself. Did you catch that? When you blame others and point fingers, it's not my fault, it's not fair, it'll never get better because it's somebody else's fault. And it could be, but you take ownership for where you are and decide to make the change. That's the second one. What did my mother and father teach me about having money? Okay, that's the third one there. Maybe you have conflicting beliefs. We've talked about that before, to where you were taught, did you learn that money's the root of all evil? And that's not true. It's the love of money that's the root of all evil. You go to any scripture text anywhere in the world, there's always some type of phrase that says it, and money's neutral. Money's is neither good nor bad, it's just there. Like gravity. Is gravity good or bad? Depends if you're walking or falling from a tree. Even as I've researched charisma, influence, one of those vital skills, charisma is neutral too. There's charismatic leaders around the world in the history that have destroyed people, destroyed countries, hurt others. There's charismatic leaders that have empowered, that have helped. And money's the same way. It's just neutral. It's just neutral. And that's something I need to think about. What were you taught about money, having money? What did the scriptures say about seeking for riches? We think it's negative. No, most of the scriptures, most scriptural texts talks about the positive side of being wealthy. Next bullet there, what is the best way to move towards prosperity? That's a big one, right? What is the best way? We're going to talk about that one today. Do I believe it's possible to break down the family poverty? Do you really believe that you can do this, that you can be wealthy? See, a lot of people think, I want to be wealthy. I want to be a millionaire. And their conscious mind says, you're not. No, you're not. You're not good enough. What about all your failures? But you keep saying it. There's something about saying, I'm wealthy, I'm a millionaire. Again, the first couple of times you say it, your conscious mind will beat you up. But keep saying it. Every time you say it, a lot of that doubt will erode away. Right? It'll erode away. So think about it. In fact, I'd have a specific number. Not that you want to be wealthy. What is your number? How much exactly do you want to earn in your currency? What is that number? That's one of your assignments right now. What is the number? Because when you tell your mind, I want to be prosperous, I want to be wealthy, what does that mean? So what is your number? What are you going to earn this year? What are you going to earn in your life? What do you need to have in the bank to consider yourself prosperous? What is your number? Write it down. What is your number? What is your number? What is that going to be? All right. Do I believe it's possible to break the chains of family poverty? We've talked about that. When I move toward prosperity, does it cause someone else to move towards poverty? We're going to talk about that. People have this scarcity mindset that there's not enough to go around, that if you become wealthy, somebody becomes poor. And that's not true. Everybody can be lifted up. What does this phrase say? What is the saying? A rising tide lifts up all boats. Catch that? And when you're more prosperous, the people around you are more prosperous. That is what we're looking for. So that's kind of the overview where we're going. Again, this is a workshop. We're going to do work. Make sure you've downloaded chapter 1 there or the whole book. We're going to take a deep dive here on, some people suffer poverty, and it depends on a lot of factors. And we're going to work through some of these different aspects here. And I want to say one thing. When you move towards prosperity, and this is, this kind of a belief I have, that if you have the talents and skills to be financially independent and bless the lives of your community, of your country, and you don't, is that a sin? I mean, think about it. If you just take care of your family, but you could have taken care of the whole community, you have those talents and skills, I don't know, something to think about, that you could become better, become more, improve the lives, not of just your family, but of everyone. So that's what we're looking for. Let me stop the share here and talk about a few of these things. So we're on just that first page on lesson 1. Again, workshop. Take notes, think it through, not only for you, but for your children. And then once you've mastered that, to coach and teach others. That's what it's all about, to give back. That's the whole foundation here, to give back, to help out, improve your lives, and improve the lives of others. So on the new words there, we know that we talk about culture, the values, attitudes, and the beliefs of the people in your group, the people around you. Are they pulling you up? Are they pulling you down? When you drive around town and you have your friends in the back of the car and they're making fun, they see someone in a nice car, in a nice home, and they say negative and derogatory things like, oh, well, drug money, well, they inherited it, they're crooked, people say all these mean and negative things about people they haven't even met. Golden spoon's another one we hear, they're filthy rich. No, here's what's important. When you see successful people, you should say, good for them. I'm next. Because you cannot become what you resent. You cannot become what you despise. You cannot become what you make fun of. When you see successful people, good for them. You can say, I'm next, but good for them. Because if you don't, you're telling your subconscious mind that you don't want it. And that's a challenge. So, and then get to know that successful person, take them out to lunch, pick their brain, get that relationship. Tom's talked about this before, that, you look at your friends and you average their income, that's your income. Get better friends that are going to pull you up, friends that are successful. And when you see successful people, you got to change your mindset. Don't say, oh, they were lucky, or they inherited it, or whatever it is. Just say, good for them. I'm glad they're blessed. Good for them. I'm next. Very important principle here as we talk about it. Of course, poverty, the conditions that prevent individuals or family from having fresh water, food, healthcare, educational opportunities. We're talking about prosperity. And we're going to talk about IGAs, or income producing activities. And that's very important as side hustles and entrepreneurs, is that asking yourself, is this an income producing activity? So there at the bottom of page 1, I'm going to read that first one. Poverty and prosperity are the opposite ends of the spectrum of how much money an individual or family has. Poverty is characterized by a lack of necessities. Prosperity, on the other hand, is characterized as general abundance. Clearly, most people, if given a choice, would prefer to live in prosperity than in poverty, obviously. And we need to change our mindset. Have abundance. There's enough for everyone. Again, a rising tide raises all the boats. The more successful you are, the more successful people around you are. And it's not taking away from anybody. When you go to any spiritual text, it's clear that that's not true. So society, maybe your parents have taught you some erroneous things that are wrong. We have to change our beliefs. Because right now, one of the things that's holding you back is your conflicting beliefs. If you had 2 control towers telling an airplane what to do, how to land, it wouldn't be good. And so you might have the belief of, well, money's the root of all evil. Well, no, it's the love of money. You might have the belief that you want to be successful, but you want to be a good parent. That might be conflicting belief. Maybe that, well, it's who you know versus I have to have an education. All these different things, you might have conflicting beliefs that you need to aware, because that's going to throw you off course. So let's go to the next page. And this is the yes, no, and the maybe. We're going to have the maybe category. We're going to go through some of these questions and fill them out. If you're not able to do that right now, write it out or think it through. And be honest with yourself. No one else is I'm not going to grade this. I'm not going to ask you to turn it in. Just to be honest with yourself. Because again, if you don't know it's an issue, you can't fix it. You can't adjust it. You can't fine tune it. You need to be able to do that. So let's go through those on page 2. Been yes, a Y for yes, an N for no, and an M, maybe I do. I need to think about it a little bit more, and that's okay. That's actually good. And you can change it to a yes, no later. So poverty indicators. We eat only 1 or 2 meals a day. Yes, no, these are easy ones. All right, we'll get to some harder ones later. We only eat 1 meal a day on Sunday, so we give money to the church. Our children do not attend school. No one in our family goes to a doctor when they're sick. These are indicators of you might be into poverty. Our house is in a poor area. We depend on relatives for money and food. Let's see, hard time serving in church. We buy household goods in very small packages versus quantity. The job we have is temporary and does not meet our family's expenses. Some children in our family do not have shoes to wear. Our drinking water comes from a communal tap or the river. Our house has a dirt floor and we cook our meals over an open fire. Those could be, not necessarily, our indicators of poverty. The next one are prosperity indicators. We are in charge of our lives. We actively use our time to our benefit. We set our goals individually and as a family. We have money so we can go to church. We don't let others keep us from making a better living. We have enough income that we can serve freely. We take a bus or a jeepney. We can buy medicine for ourselves and our children if needed. Our children are all in school. We can buy household goods in bulk, oil, laundry, soap, some food. And we have fruits and vegetables in addition to our rice and main food. So something to think about for you, the people you're coaching. Are they on the edge? Are they stuck? Where are they at? So look at these great questions at the bottom of that page. What traditions, practices, or beliefs in your culture keep your family poor? Now, there are some countries that, hey, I made enough money today to take care of my family. I'm done. I mean, that might be part of your culture. And it's hard to get ahead when you do that versus you could keep working, invest, buy another food cart, and grow your side hustle, grow your business. So what about your culture, your society, traditions, practices that maybe impede you from getting prosperity? You know, is it you? Are you afraid what your family and friends will say when you hit prosperity and maybe they don't? And they might say some negative things. It's that whole story about crabs in a bucket. You see that, you probably heard it before, where you put crabs in a bucket, they could escape and they try. Maybe they crawl up the bucket, they get it to the top, they're almost out, and then another crab pulls them down. Is that what's happening to you? Your family, friends, about prosperity? It's just kind of what they do. You tell them about your goals and your dreams, and sometimes they, to put it bluntly, they spit on your dreams, they pull you down. I remember going to a family gathering, and this was a while back, and they're like, Kurt, what are you working on? What are you doing? You're like, I said, I want to be a best-selling author. And they laughed, like, you, what? I think that's what I want to do. And I worked on it, and it took a while for it to happen. But in the meantime, of course, family and friends are like, hey, bestseller, how's it going? How's your book? And they would mock me and make fun of me, and I just smile and say, it's coming. And so be careful of the people around you that are pulling you down. It can be based on tradition. It can be based on selfishness. It could be based on jealousy, resentment. There's a lot of factors here, but what's holding you back there? Next question, can you think of anything your parents taught you that might make you think you should remain in poverty, that you can't? And that's a conflicting belief. You want to be wealthy, but you want to be spiritual. And those don't conflict, but they could conflict for you. Did you catch that? So, well, I want to be spiritual, but I can't be wealthy and be both. You can be both. There are plenty of people in the world that are spiritual and wealthy. That's just how it is. but that belief could conflict for you. Just like money's the root of all evil versus you want to be wealthy, that could be a conflicting belief too. So what are they? I know in the United States and every country has different ones that maybe you grew up and parents could say, well, I'm not Rockefeller. He was a very rich industrialist, right? Say, well, I'm not made of money, right? We might have heard that. Oh, they're filthy rich. I mean, who comes up with this stuff? Money doesn't grow on trees. And Tom teaches you every time, money can grow on trees. That's just how it is. We have to understand how it works. So what are those phrases you were taught growing up that maybe hold you back? And it's not that, I mean, your parents' intent wasn't bad. That's just kind of what parents say, but does it hold you back? Is it one of your conflicting beliefs? All right, that third question, is there anything that might not be correct about those ideas or traditions of your parents? Again, what are your conflicting beliefs? I mean, do you truly believe that you can do this? I mean, we've talked about this before. Can you visualize yourself being successful? Do you have a vision board? Do you do affirmations? Whatever works for you. Are you being aware of your thoughts? No thought in your mind can reside rent-free. You know this. Thoughts triggers emotions, and emotions triggers your actions. Are your thoughts? Are you visualizing success? Are you working on your conflicting beliefs? These are things that matter, because remember, 2 control towers telling a plane what to do doesn't work out. Just like your brain, 2 conflicting beliefs. You got to change your beliefs and give yourself permission to win. And final questions, can you still honor your mother and father but have different opinions than they still have? Well, sure you can, but maybe you don't believe that. It's okay to have different beliefs. Everyone has different beliefs. That's what they were taught. That's what they're holding on to, but you can adjust, change your beliefs to have more success. All right. So let's go into the next page. And we're taking notes. We're going through some things here that we are spiritually taught. Any scripture around the world, scriptural text will teach you that God, you keep the commandments, you do what's right, you're a good person, you will be blessed. You will be blessed. I mean, you have to take action. There was a big video going around a few years ago where you could just think, I'm wealthy, and it's just going to happen. You know, the daily affirmations. You have to have an action plan. You have to do what's right, but you still have to have an action plan, a side hustle. So you want to do what's right, be a good person, but you also have to take action. You can't just mentally preparing yourself is good, and you need to do that, but you have to do something physically too. So this is your homework assignment, is to read these texts, because with this success, you can change your family, you can change your community, you can change your country, you can change the future. That's how it is. That's how it is. Now, towards the bottom, so read this text later on, excuse me, towards the bottom there, that says, some people believe that there is a shortage of good things in life. Scarcity. There's enough to go around. I keep saying it. A rising tide raises all the boats. Everyone becomes better. Your community becomes better. And that's what I love about successful people. It's not either or. Well, it's both. It doesn't have to be either or. They just think differently. No, let's just do both. I'm like, oh, it's not an either or. Abundance. Do you have that abundance mentality? Or is that scarcity? There's not enough to go around. I have to get mine. No. There's abundance. You can share. There's plenty for everyone. Everyone can be blessed. There's plenty of blessings for everyone. If you look at the spiritual side, there's not a limit. There's only 1,000 blessings a day per community. No, it's unlimited. You can be blessed. God wants to bless you. Change your mindset from scarcity to abundance. So think about it here. Do you have a scarcity mentality? Do you really feel, were you taught there's not enough to go around, that if you have a lot, that someone has a little? Not true, a conflicting belief. Okay, let's go to the next page. That quote on the top, to enjoy the good things of the earth, you must take control of your financial situation by improving your living conditions, getting out of poverty, and becoming prosperous. So here are the tougher questions. We had easy questions before. This is another spot for the yes no, and then I'm going to add maybe. So you could ponder it later. Maybe it is an issue. So these true or false for you, not in reality, for you. True, false, or maybe. So T for true, F for false, or whatever letter you want to use, M for maybe. So here's the first one. Being poor makes you righteous, makes you a good person. All right, true, false, maybe. Is that true for you? Being rich means that you are righteous. Being poor means you're evil. Number 4, being rich means you're evil. How do you feel about those? What have you learned? What's telling you on the side? All right. Rich men are evil and will have trouble getting into heaven. If you're rich, right? There's some text, scripture text that says, it's harder for a rich man to get into heaven because of this and that. Is that true? That all rich people will, not going to make it. You're not going to make it. What do you feel about that? Number 6, being poor guarantees happiness. Does it? Have you been taught that? Well, they're not happy. That wealthy person's not happy. They've been divorced 5 times. They're going to hell. Remember, if you're saying negative things about wealthy people, you can't get there. You can't become what you resent, you despise. You have to change your thinking. It's okay, people have been blessed. Good for them. I'm next. Good for them. That's what you need to say to yourself. Being rich guarantees happiness. Does money buy happiness? I don't know. It can take a lot of stress away. And some studies do show that if you don't have to worry about your bills, take care of your family, that can reduce stress and it can increase happiness. And do realize that money makes you more of what you already are. Meaning if you're miserable now, money's just going to make you more miserable. If you're a mean person, you're going to be more mean. If you're despicable, you're going to be more despicable. That's just how it is. And so that's why we teach at the foundation, we start giving away now. We start being happy now because money's just going to accelerate that. That's the one to understand. Number 8, there's no relationship between being happy or sad or being rich or poor. What do you think? Evil men are sometimes poor. 9, evil men are sometimes rich. Men or women, of course. 11, good men are sometimes poor. Number 12, good men are sometimes rich. So we're taking a deep dive. How do you really feel? Is it okay? What have you been taught from society, from your family, from parents? Let's change the way we think. We want to change the world, improve the world. Again, the best thing you do to help a person in poverty is not be poor yourself, to give back, to help out. Think about, as we talk about the scriptural text, the Good Samaritan. People walking around didn't want to help. Who helped? The Samaritan who had money to give to the innkeeper to help out. That's what it's all about, to give back, to help out, to have the resources to be able to do that. And when you're giving and serving and helping out, that does increase happiness. Just saying, that's a big changer, because sometimes when we're stuck in poverty, we just think about ourselves, and that doesn't help happiness. So even if you are stuck in poverty, you can serve others, help others, give back, even if it's with your time. If you don't have the resources, there's time and resources that you can give back to help other people. And then the final piece there is, if being rich and poor doesn't make you good or bad, wouldn't you prefer to live in prosperous and abundant life as promised in scriptural text? It's just how it is. And then they go into the parable of the talents, which shows you. That's part of your homework, is to read that. The parable of talents, you know it, where someone was given 5 talents, money. Someone was given 2, someone was given 1. The person given 5 multiplied it, grew it. 5 became 5. The next one gave 2, multiplied it to 2. One was given 1, they buried it. Didn't even try. That's why I feel, look, if you have the talents and skills to be financially independent, to be successful, it might be a sin to not just take care of your family. You could be taking care of the whole community. You could be helping out and giving out. It's clear in that text that, yes, multiply it. That's why I love where it says there towards where is it? On the next page. You get your homework is to read that. Talks about it. It's actually printed there for you. But then you go to the next page where there's some questions, but there's in the middle of that page, it says that the parable teaches several principles we're studying. First, number 1, You can increase your prosperity by trading, selling, having a business. That's good. That's okay. It's okay to make a profit. Number two, the Lord is pleased when you're doing incoming activities. Number three, people don't increase what they've been given. They'll have their original gifts taken away. And you don't want that. You don't want that. And true leaders are happy with all the outcomes, growing their, so that's part of that reading the quotes on that page is a big piece of that. And then your final writing assignment on the next page. So basically, we're taught. If you want to go into the scriptures, to be abundant, to give back, to help out. There's nothing that says there's happiness in poverty. It's just not there. So remember, we pursue wealth to help ourselves and our family, to improve our lives. That's a big part of it. And of course, a big piece of that is to give back, help out, and serve the people around us. And so final piece on that page there, next page, what do you need to do? Based on what we talked about today, what do you need to change? There's poverty, there's prosperity. Which one are you going to choose? What are you going to do to help other people get out of as you talk about poverty and prosperity? So what conflicting beliefs do you have? What do you need to change? What do you need to work on? And don't get frustrated if it doesn't happen in a day or a week. It takes a while. You've had these beliefs your whole life. It takes a little while to erode those negative beliefs that are holding you back, to erode them away. But as you start to visualize your success, it becomes real. Just like an Olympic athlete who's won a gold medal, they have visualized that gold medal, what, 1, 2 times? No, thousands of times. And the same thing's true with your success and your prosperity, because the universe will not reward you physically until you believe it mentally, until you can see it mentally. That is the key. And so work on your visualization. Do you need a vision board? Do you want to write it out? Do you need to think about it before you go to bed? Let your subconscious mind work on it while you sleep. So work on your vision, work on your thoughts. Are you saying negative things to yourself? I love the saying that if you treated others the way you treat yourself, you wouldn't have any friends. So change your thoughts, improve your thoughts. And I'm not saying, well, probably the best thing with thoughts is like, well, you shouldn't think that way, but you do. The difference between poverty, prosperity, success, and failure is pretty simple. You see, everyone has negative thoughts. It's just reality. We're human. That's how we are. Here's the difference between failure and success. People that are stuck in failure have a negative thought, that little seed, and they water it. Well, that could come true. What if it is true? Well, yeah, it'll probably happen. And it does happen. Successful people have the same thoughts, but they just redirect it to something else, something more positive. That's the key. So work on your thoughts, work on your beliefs. And the next one I would add is address your fears. Remember, you're only born with 2 fears, fear of falling and the fear of loud noises, every baby. So all these fears you've picked up, you've learned them so you can unlearn them. What are the big fears that hold people back? Fear of failure, fear of criticism, fear of rejection, fear of success. That's a fear right now. Are people afraid of a nice home? No, they have a fear of maintaining it. What if they lose it? What are their family and friends are going to say? So here's the other thing. The difference between success and failure. Successful people have the same fears, but they face it. Versus thinking, oh, what if they say no? What if I don't do it? What if I fail? Everyone has kind of the same fears. Face it, do it anyway. So things you must do to overcome what we talked about today. Who do you need to talk to? There's a list there of appointments. What are the successful people around you that you can talk to, that you can mentor with, that you can take to lunch? Well, they're the millionaire. They should pay for my lunch. No, if a millionaire is going to give you an hour, you can pay for it. Find a way to help them, to serve them, to work with them. And from my experience, they're more than happy to give back and help you out and listen, give you advice. Look around you for better friends that pull you up, not like the crabs in the bucket that pull you down. That's not what you want. Find people that lift you up, bring you up, have the right belief system, and that's contagious. If you're having conflicting beliefs, find people that have the right beliefs. Spend more time with them. It's contagious. And your negative conflicting beliefs will start to erode away. And then opportunities tomorrow, what you want to do, map it out, work it through. That's chapter 1. We're going to continue through these, but that's the first one. We got to work on this belief system, all these things you've learned growing up that maybe hold you back. It's like you feel like you're driving around town and you have this brand new car, this fast car, maybe it's a Ferrari, right? But when your Ferrari is stuck in first gear with the emergency brake on, that's what we talked about today. Your emergency brake's on, you're in first gear, and you're wondering what's taken so long to be successful, to reach prosperity, because it's these beliefs. It's what we talked about today. Society has planted that seed. And remember, when your family and friends say money's not important, just think to yourself, well, they don't have any, because wealthy people don't talk that way. Successful people don't talk that way. It'll change the game for you. It'll change the game for your family. It'll change the game for your communities. You give back, help out, serve others. That is the key. So that's module 1. Want to make sure that you have that. If you didn't have it in front of you, didn't take notes, shame on you. No, if you didn't have a chance to do it, go back. You have access to it on the successandmoneyfoundation.org. There's also, we put another link up here in chat for chapter 1, module 1, as we go through these things, just to get to the point, to pick up speed, to get yourself out of first gear, to get the emergency brake on, to understand skills. Because success and wealth is an open book test. All the answers are there. There's no real secret. There's not a special school you need to go to. The answers are there. You want to be successful, you want to be wealthy, it's pretty simple. If you want to become a millionaire, you start thinking, acting, and doing what other millionaires do. That is the key. That's what you want to do, just a little bit at a time. And let me finish up with a story. So this young man, this young woman fall in love, sparks are flying, they decide to go on a picnic out in the countryside. And this young man borrowed his father-in-law's convertible to get out there. He was a little nervous, but he treated it well. And they got to the location. There's a stream and a tree. I mean, again, fallen in love, things were going well. But this young lady, her allergies started to bother her. She was starting to sneeze and having a hard time breathing. She says, well, let's go back into town. You know, I have this medication, but it just makes me very groggy and sleepy. I don't want to take it. I want to talk to you on the way back. It was a 2-hour drive back. So he put the food in the trunk. He emptied all the water out so it wouldn't spill in the trunk, being careful. They started to drive back into town. And this young lady, it was getting worse and she needed to take her medication. But this medication required to take it with a lot of water. Of course, remember, he poured out all the water. They're 2 hours away from town. You notice off in the distance, this old abandoned farm. And so he walked out and paint was peeling from the barn, but out in front of the barn was one of those old fashioned pumps, right? The pumps, you've seen them before. They're still out there. The pumps you pump up and down. So he got the cups out and wanted to save the day, take care of his girlfriend. He started pumping. 5 minutes had passed and he's getting hot beads of perspiration. 10 minutes had passed and nothing was there. His muscles were starting to hurt and he was about to give up. And his girlfriend said, no, don't give up. It could be, just keep going, do it for me. And you're in love, that's all it takes. So he kept bumping another 5 minutes and another 10 minutes. And without notice, without any fanfare, cold, refreshing water came out, filled the cup, saved the day. Girlfriend took the medication and they made it back into town. And the reason I tell you that is sometimes you get frustrated, you're pumping, you can't see how close the water is. Right? You want it right away. It might take 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I don't know what it's going to take for you. Everyone's different, but I promise you, you keep pumping. Even when it hurts, even when you're tired, even when you're hot, even when your friends mock you that it's never going to come out, you keep pumping and the waters of financial independence will come gushing out for you. So do these things, read the text that I was talking about, go through this again, take your notes, go through your maybes and find out which conflicting beliefs you have. And then we can all go out and make the world a better place.
Thanks so much, Kurt. I want to make sure that you know where you can get this wonderful book. And so when you go back to the successandmoneyfoundation.org, you simply come here to courses. When you go to courses, there is number 11 is the free books and downloads. So free books and downloads, and then you can go to the free books. And there's the book right there. There's the whole PDF. You can download the whole PDF, as well as some other wonderful books. My book's on here, The Money Made Easy for kids and teens and young adults and adults. The 4 maps, Think and Grow Rich, the Ultimate Success Library, the literary classics, then multiple streams of income, which we're going to talk about a little later. There's some wonderful, wonderful books here. So make sure that you go back to the site, and that's where you're going to get them. So this has been Tom Painter and Kurt Mortensen. Thanks, Kurt. I'm going to ask Kurt to come back again, and let's continue to go through this wonderful book, because many of you, all of you, really need to have a side hustle in addition to whatever job you might have. We need to figure out how to make more money. Step number 1 is make more money. We do that by studying successful people. We do it by adding more value and solving bigger problems. So that's our key to be able to make that work. And so y'all need a small business to make that work as well. Thanks for watching, everybody. We're going to say goodbye to our friends from around the world. We're going to be right